Welcome back to another episode of the True Detective Companion Podcast, Season 3, Episode 4, entitled The Hour and the Day. This and all other episodes are, of course, presented by The Disorderly. Head over to thedisorderly.com for the best sports entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Disorderly Media, Facebook at Disorderly ENT, and you can find me on Twitter at Nick Rizner, NickRizner. So this episode had this big explosive ending that was alluded to in the first episode, but we'll work our way up to that. Let me just start by saying this. In the little pre-episode recap, they show the scene where the television producer questions whether the investigation was flawed from the beginning because nobody followed up on the lead with the brown sedan. That part annoyed me because it seems like every unsolved case probably has a lead that wasn't followed up on or properly looked into, because otherwise the case wouldn't be unsolved, right? It would be solved. So perhaps it's not that the detectives did a shitty job investigating the crime. Maybe murder is just a super hard thing to figure out. Seemed unnecessarily harsh to throw that kind of comment at Mahershala Ali or Wayne. And I don't know. Maybe I just like the guy, so I'm being defensive. But in any event, we see Wayne and Roland chasing down this lead in episode 4. They actually get pointed there by a couple people. There's the old man in the nearby house in the last episode who said that he saw a black man and a white woman driving the brown sedan near the kids' play area. Then they talked to the old woman who makes those creepy dolls, and she said that she sold 10 of them to a black man with a dead eye. So that's where they're going to investigate. The first guy that they visit, obviously, it does not go well. The presence of the cops get the community all riled up. The man says he isn't the only one-eyed guy in these parts, pointing to the fact that the farm work can be dangerous, and someone throws a rock at the detective's window, which actually kind of led to a funny moment where you can hear the whistling of the wind as they're driving go through the hole. I just enjoyed that part. But assuming the old man was telling the truth and he's innocent, I think that this scene is indicative of how muddy the waters got with the racial stuff during this investigation, because the television producer already asked about the racial bias affecting the case. So clearly that is a storyline, that's a narrative, there's something there. Perhaps they didn't go back after the black man driving the sedan because of the optics of it, or something like that. They also keep alluding to the fact that that one guy's going for attorney general. So there's politics involved. So maybe that explains why the investigation wasn't handled the proper way. We're still somewhat unclear on all of that. There's also the church angle. Turns out the creepy priest is the one that posed the kids as if they were praying and took the pictures during the first communion. Obviously the same way that Will's body was found posed in the cave. He also points them in the direction of a new aunt. The exact quote actually was, Julie had been excited about seeing an aunt, and Wayne's response was she doesn't have an aunt. So perhaps that could have been the white woman in the brown sedan that was described earlier. The detectives also set up a station where they fingerprint all the parishioners. So those are the updates on the church thing. I think Wayne even says he's pretty sure that whoever did this crime was either a member of the church or somehow involved in the church, just based on the way that the child was posed. Now, that could easily be a misconception. I think it is, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Let's just go over a few other little notes from around the episode, because there's a lot that goes on, right? These are long episodes. They're dense. There's a lot of little clues, little subtle drops they give you in the middle of an episode. So rather than contextualize it, because we don't really have context for all this stuff yet, I decided I'd just throw it into this section, almost like a bullet point section. So we find out that Wayne's son is a cop. I'm pretty sure it's the first time we learn about this. Unless I missed it and they discussed it earlier, I didn't know he was a cop until he literally comes down the stairs at the police station with a badge on his belt. I didn't know that. We also find out that Roland is still alive in 2015. Wayne needs to talk to him to help piece together all the information about all this. By the way, side note, I'm like 99% sure that Wayne's son is having an affair with the television producer. We saw the two wine glasses in her room. When Wayne asked if he had seen her since the last television interview, he said no, but it seems like he was lying. He mentioned something about, if you happen to run into my son, it's probably best for both of us if you don't mention that I came here today. It seems like that they're having an affair, which is interesting. I don't know how that'll tie into everything else, but I'm pretty sure about that. But anyway, in 1990, we see an instant power struggle between Wayne and Roland. Obviously, the dynamics changed a little bit since 1980. They're talking over each other. They're jockeying for being the alpha detective in the room. And then we find out that the kid's mother OD'd in Vegas in 1988, and the creepy cousin went missing, but remains from his body were found in a drained quarry in southern Missouri. So that's just the little tidbits of information that we got throughout the episode. The episode ends with Freddie Byrne getting arrested because his fingerprints were on Will's bike. We already knew this because we saw him playing with it in episode 1, but the new information that comes out is the fact that Freddie disappeared for 30 minutes at some point. He said he was chasing Will, but only for a minute, but Will wasn't with Julie. So maybe at this point, Julie had already been taken and Will was scrambling to look for her. Maybe Will had tripped and hit his head during this scramble. It still doesn't explain who posed him, who moved the body, why that person did that. We still don't know. And then, of course, the big finale comes from the locals chasing the garbage man back to his house because they'd seen him talking to a couple young girls. He sets up rifles in every window, and he puts C4 at his front door. The detectives arrive just as a man kicks in the door and blows himself up. Now, I wonder if Roland gets shot during this incident. We'll find out, I'm sure, at the beginning of the next episode. But you can see he has the limp in 1990. He met President Bill Clinton and everything. So perhaps he was being honored for getting shot in the line of duty. I think there's actually an allusion or a reference to it by Wayne at some point saying, if maybe he wouldn't have risen up if he hadn't got shot. So I'm pretty sure he gets shot. That's why he has the limp. And I wonder if it happens in this exchange. Now let's end this thing by revisiting the case for Amelia being the culprit. This is a theory we've been playing with pretty much from the beginning, I think. My buddy Nate first pointed it out, and I've basically been watching from that angle ever since. So let's explore it. She's definitely got a wild side. We see it with her picking the fight and turning that into sex with Wayne. Now, granted, that's fairly normal marital shit, but don't forget that in the first couple episodes, we learn about her going into the city every couple of months and pretending that she's a different person, different name, job, identity. That's pretty much sociopathic behavior, right? Then there's the dinner in the episode. She immediately starts talking about the case with Wayne. She suggests that Will's death was an accident, which is a theory I mentioned in the last episode. But more importantly, I took this whole dinner as a play. She was trying to figure out what Wayne knew about the case and wrapping it all in this sexually charged flirtation, similar, of course, to what she did in the 1990s with the cops from the other town. She flirted. She seduced the officers. She got the information she wanted. There's a pattern there. Now, wouldn't you want to know as much about the investigation as possible if you were, say, the person who did the crime? And by writing the book, you have the perfect explanation for all the research and the perfect tool for spinning the narrative in a way that benefits you in some way. Pretty convenient. Even the way she suggests that the toys and the position of Will's body, she's like, don't you think that shows affection? It's almost as if she's justifying what she did, justifying her actions in this situation where she is somehow involved in the death of Will and the disappearance of Julie. And she's dodgy, too. When he asks her about her background at that dinner, she dodges the question and starts talking about sexual stuff instead. A clear distraction. She never elaborates. And the writers have this really clever way of pointing that fact out to the audience by having Amelia say that Wayne never answered this question about, whether he gets a lot of girls. She's like, you never answered my question. When 30 seconds prior, Amelia had been the one who hadn't answered a question that was asked to her. Plus, she seems to be working Will's mom for information as well, right? When she goes to the house, she takes the sympathy and starts to spin that in a way that gets more information revealed to Wayne, which in turn you think would come back to her because she's working on this angle with Wayne where she's manipulating him into falling in love and sharing all the details of the investigation. Just something to think about. I thought it was interesting. But that'll wrap it up for this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed this True Detective Companion podcast. We'll be back next week and every week until the season is complete. I want to say it's 8 episodes, so we're at the halfway mark now. But I'm enjoying it so far. Mahershala Ali is an absolute beast. I'm happy for him. Still got to see the Green Book, but I haven't seen it yet. And that's it. Super Bowl Sunday, guys. I assume there's an episode after the Super Bowl, right? I haven't even checked. I'm assuming there is. But if not, no, there must be. There must be, because it would just be after. So enjoy the Super Bowl, and then go home from your Super Bowl party and watch some True Detective. That's my plan. That's what I'll be doing. And stay tuned later in the week. We're going to have a Super Bowl extravaganza podcast. So if you subscribe, you'll find it there as well. But that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will catch you later. Enjoy the weekend. Peace, guys.